Okay. Today is September 21st, 2019. My name is Debbie Bussinger, and I am interviewing Denver Moore as part of the Military History Program at the Maps Air Museum.
I was born in Noble County in a partial log house at 6 o'clock on Sunday morning, May 15th, 1921.
Wow. Did you have any brothers and sisters?
Not then.
Okay, you were the first then.
I
You
was the
were
first, yeah. The doctor came to the house in a Model T Ford, delivered me right in the house.
Okay.
My dad was a farmer at that time, and also he was a furrier. He bought fur and dressed it and cleaned it and stretched it and dried it, and it was beautiful.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And then he would sell it to another furrier that came by to buy it. When I come up to Canton in 41, I worked for Bolus at a service station until the fall of 41, and then I went into Hercules Engines. And I worked there all winter and all the summer of 42 until August. And in August, I was drafted into the Army Air Corps. And I went in as a Link Trainer Instructor.
And how did you get that position?
Well, we took tests after a week or two of training and walking on the beaches of St. Petersburg, Florida. We took a test, and so many of us passed for that job. And so we went from there. Then we went to Rantoul, Illinois,
Champaign, Urbana?
Chanute Field.
I was there.
And we went to school there in the winter of 42. And about 3 months, and then after that, we were shipped to Tennessee, to Tullahoma. And that's where we started working as a Link Trainer Instructor. That was Tullahoma Air Force Base.
So did you go through basic training?
Basic training was very minimal.
Okay.
Very minimal. You know, we didn't do much of anything. We went out to the rifle range once, went out to bivouac overnight in the rain. They brought us back in. The Air Force was the greatest. Yeah.
So, can you explain what a Link Trainer is?
A Link Trainer. Well, before World War II, a man by the name of Edwin Link invented the Link Trainer. He invented it in his father's organ factory. And it looked like a small airplane. The only thing was you couldn't see out of it. It had a hood over it, so you couldn't see nothing but your instruments on your plane. And that was a simulator to help the bomber pilots to know where they were when they couldn't see out. They had to rely on their radio and their instruments. And so that little Link Trainer became so famous during World War II. There were hundreds and thousands of them all over the United States. And that's what we did. The pilot would come in and we'd put him in the Link Trainer simulator, and we would test him on a certain air base diagram, and he would figure out exactly where he was and how to get to his home base. That's what it was for.
Now, what did your training encompass? What did you have to do? You went to school in Champaign,
Yeah,
Urbana, and
going to school in Champaign, it's been so long ago I forget, but we just took mostly training how to operate that and how to set up our paper on our desk to guide the pilot, and what things we could use. We could use wind, like a crosswind or for certain heading, and he had to figure that out and know and correct for that. You know, sometimes he's heading in the wind, he's flying that way. Yeah, and we learned all that, and I don't know. We didn't take a lot of schooling, regular schooling, English and arithmetic and so forth, but it was just mostly how to operate the link trainer and how to conduct ourselves when we had a student in the cockpit.
And so they practice like night flying or instrument flying in the Link Trainer for any aircraft?
They practice that in the Link Trainer for mostly all the bombers,
The bombers.
the B-24 bombers especially, which flew over Germany. There in it'd be 43, 4, 43 and 4, and the B-25s, the B-26s. I think the B-17, but it was mostly for the bomber pilots. It wasn't so much for the fighter pilots, but it was just about all for bomber pilots.
So you had flight lines or landing strips of multiple airfields? Is that correct, that they would train on?
We had diagrams of the different airfields, and it was set up so there was 4 quadrants, and then in between those quadrants there was a radio beam, and that radio beam went from the center station of your airfield. It went out different directions, and the pilot could pick that up and know the heading, find out the heading, and follow that right back into the field. But he had to orientate himself wherever he was when he listened to his radio and watched his instrument. He had to orientate himself and find that radio beam that was coming in. And when he found it, he had a solid hum instead of just chopped up. And when it was solid, and he was on the solid all the time, he knew he was headed right in to the field.
So, and did you simulate those audio signals in the Link Trainer?
Yes, we simulated those audio signals so he could hear them on his earphones, and then also we had a little tracking machine that told exactly where his plane was. It was a 3-wheel, and then you see that thing up at maps, and there was a little tiny wheel. We coated it with red ink, and that was his fly path. Wherever he went, that showed up on the map. Yeah. And so we did that until the war ended.
How many pilots do you think you trained?
Oh, I would have no idea. I did it for the 2 years, pretty much solid, except it wasn't too much in the winter time, but two solid summers, and we did it about 5 days a week. Some days we wouldn't have hardly any pilots, and other times we would have maybe 2 or 3 a day. And there would be anywhere from 3 instructors maybe to 10 instructors in the same building. We had that many Link trainers in there.
So one instructor per trainer?
Yeah, 1 instructor per trainer, for the Link trainer, and then usually a pilot was trained for about an hour at a time, and we might have 2 or 3 a day, and then again, maybe we wouldn't have hardly any, you know.
And what were the requirements to pass to get through that part of the training?
Well, the main thing was there wasn't too much record kept, but if they maneuvered their plane and come in over the field, they passed. Once they come in over the field, there was dead silence. There was no noise whatsoever. They knew exactly they were right over it when that happened.
So it made an irregular noise until they lined up on the beacon. Once they hit the beacon, then it was a solid noise.
Yes.
And then once they got close to the airfield or over the airfield, it went off.
It went silent.
And that usually was when they were in visual.
That was called
sight.
the cone of silence. It was just like a cone went up. There was no sound in it. You know, it's like a vacuum.
And is that when the flight line should have been visible to them, the landing strip?
Yeah, where they were going to land should have been visible when they come in over the cone of silence. And then they would have instructions of what heading and what airstrip to land on.
The air traffic control would then come on to.
Mm-hmm. Yes, the air traffic control took over then. And,
So what was a regular day for you?
a regular day for me was getting up and showering and going to breakfast at the mess hall with the rest of the soldiers, and then back to the barracks and dressing up in our dress clothes, and then going to work about 8 o'clock until about 5. It was like an 8 to 5 day, yeah. And if we didn't have much of anything to do that way in the way of work, while we had big games, we played softball, we played soccer, or volleyball, and we even had teams of softball that went places on a bus to play other teams, and we took a 3-day pass once and rode in a B-25 bomber from Tullahoma to Youngstown, Ohio, and then after the 3-day pass was over, we hitchhiked back to Tullahoma.
And Tullahoma, is that the base name?
That was the base name, Tullahoma Air Force Base. That was about 60 miles south of Nashville.
How was the food?
The food in the Air Force was always good. I never could complain about the food in the Air Force. It was always good. Even when I was on KP, it was still good.
What did you do on KP?
On KP, most of the time, passing the food out to the men coming through the line. Yeah, sometimes you get there early, you have to mop, clean up, you know. But I always enjoyed it.
What was your highest rank?
My highest rank was sergeant.
And you said you dressed up. Did you have to wear your dress clothes because you
We
were
wore
instructors?
wore our dress khaki uniform to work in. We didn't wear our all of a kind of a green dress-up uniform. We didn't wear that to work in, but we wore our khaki uniform. And then we had fatigues where we would work KP and work other things. Or play ball in, yeah. We had prize fight tournaments, different things. I rode in a Piper Cub from Tullahoma to Nashville and back once. And I had a tooth went bad, and the dentist took it out and gave it to me, and he said, take it up to Nashville to the dentistry and get it with tooth just about like that, bring it back, and I'll put it in. And they did. Yeah. Yeah. Everything was very good. Very good.
Did you suffer any injuries or get sick while you were in the service?
I might have had a cold or something, but I never got injured or never got hurt. Nothing. Just I had it real good. I can't complain. I loved the time I was in there.
Were your parents ever able to visit?
My parents never able to visit. They were able to move to Canton, and my father worked at Hercules during the war. And after that, he went back to the farm. And I visited him here when I rode the bomber to Youngstown. I come over to Canton and visit him. And then after, well, I think it was in the early fall of 45, there was some of us picked out of the instructors, put in the engineers, and they trained us to be electricians, and they sent us to Spokane, Washington, and they trained us there, and then they were going to ship us to Saipan, where we could light up the runways, and the war ended. So that took care of that. So then we're back to Bedford, Massachusetts for a short time in the early winter of 45. And then from there, we went to Patterson Field, Dayton, Ohio, and that's where we got mustered out. Then back to the farm.